Hello 咁多位大家好，我係國人，歡迎嚟到 FIFA3.com。今日同大家講嘅咧就係早排同呢個 ATC 嘅 Engine Ben Lilly 做咗個訪問。點解咧？因為英國 ATC 推出咗一個新嘅超低音，就係呢個 C4 Mark II 啊。但係訪問內容咧就唔係淨係講佢嘅超低音，而且仲會講咗好多有關玩 2.1 或者 2.2 要留意嘅地方。唔係玩緊超低音嘅朋友咧，睇完今集都有得着啊。咁另外有關用 ATC 有源喇叭嘅一啲迷思啊，或者坊間一啲傳聞嘅玩法咧，究竟係真定係假咧？咁啊，趁呢個機會問埋廠方，睇下自己玩緊嘅 ATC 喇叭咧，同廠嘅睇法有啲咩係唔同，有啲咩地方係同啦。咁啊，正式講解之前咧，同大家講翻聲，如果大家覺得我哋啲片都比較好睇嘅話咧，咁啊不妨俾翻個 like 或者考慮下訂閱我哋嘅頻道啦。本片有齊中英文字幕嘅，揀翻你啱睇嘅語言啦。
Hey Ken, my name's Ben Lilly and I work for ATC Loudspeakers, manufacturer of loudspeakers, active loudspeakers, electronics, and we're based in Stroud in the UK.
ATC 係今年咧正式推出家用嘅有源超低音版本啊 C4 10 Mark II 係一隻全新設計12寸低音單元密封聲箱嘅有源超低音嚟嘅。佢有啲咩設計上嘅特色呢？
That's right, yeah. A couple of years ago we made the decision to redevelop our 12-inch sub, the C4, build two new versions, one for Pro, one for Hi-Fi. We released the professional version, the SCS70, last year, and we're just about to launch the Hi-Fi version, the C4 Sub Mark II.
今次民用版嘅 C4 10 Mark II 同埋舊年推出嘅專業版本 SCS70 Pro 睇規格睇個樣好似差唔多一樣，究竟佢哋有啲咩分別呢？
Performance-wise, there's very little difference. As with many of our products, it's mostly in the aesthetic design. So the Hi-Fi model comes with a grille, is available in our usual range of veneered finishes, some satin painted finishes, high gloss veneers if you like. So it's styled for a domestic environment. The styling matches the Classic series and the Tower series. But technologically it shares many features with the SCS70, including the brand new 12-inch subwoofer drive unit and the new amplifier.
咁講起呢隻全新設計嘅12寸長中程低音單元，個樣同一般嘅 ATC 12寸低音單元差唔多，究竟佢又有啲咩唔同嘅地方呢？
You're right, externally at a quick glance it does look very similar. Most of the changes are internal. If you look at the motor structure and the suspension, that's where there have been a lot of changes. So there's a whole new motor structure on that driver, a longer front plate, 30mm instead of 20mm to allow more linear travel. Totally redesigned spider and roll surround as well to give more linear compliance. And the goal with both of those things is to reduce distortion and increase the dynamic range, i.e. the max sound pressure level capability.
咁我哋點樣可以將呢一隻超低音同我哋嘅標準兩聲道嘅重播系統完美咁樣融合呢？
A couple of ways. If you've got a preamplifier with multiple outputs, you can drive the sub from one set of outputs and the main speakers from another set of outputs. Alternatively, the amplifier's also got outputs on it, so we can feed into the subwoofer. That feed then supplies the subwoofer amplifier with the signal. There's a set of outputs as well to link out to the power amplifier or your active speakers for the main speakers. That output is unprocessed, unfiltered, but then there is some processing available on the subwoofer, variable low pass filter that you can adjust to suit the model of speakers you need. Typically a lower low pass frequency for a larger speaker, higher high pass frequency for a smaller speaker that needs some more assistance. There's also pretty standard cinema setting of 80 Hz, and you can also turn the processing, the filtering off if you want to deal with the filtering and processing with an external processor.
咁有關兩聲道音樂重播應唔應該加超低音，都係眾說紛紜嘅。咁佢又覺得邊啲人需要喺自己嘅系統裏邊加超低音，加一隻定係兩隻呢？
I suppose for Hi-Fi really it comes down to taste and the main speakers you already own. I mean, if you already own, for instance, 150s, then there's going to be far less need to augment those large speakers with a subwoofer. You're going to get the best, most coherent, integrated sound. If you want really good bass extension and excellent, coherence from the lowest frequency to the highest frequency, the best solution is still most likely to be a large main speaker. But that doesn't suit everyone's space, doesn't always suit everyone's taste. So the subwoofer offers some flexibility. If you want a slightly more bass forward presentation, you could add the subwoofer to a larger pair of speakers, or if you've got smaller speakers that are really lacking in those bottom 2 octaves, then the subwoofer can take over and really fill in all of that area and give it a similar response to a large speaker. And in terms of using one sub or two, I think for stereo, when you add one sub, it's always difficult to decide where to position it. If you've got a nicely set up demo room and the speakers are symmetrically placed like they are here, the automatic place you think to put the sub is in between them, so it's equidistant from both speakers, but that often doesn't give a good integration with the room. It's going to excite the room mode, second resonance across the width of the room quite strongly, so we usually recommend against putting it dead center. Then if you put it off to one side, then it might have a good relationship with one speaker that it's closest to, not so good to the other. So sometimes with stereo, two sub setup could give better results. Also, if you've got a big room or you've got big loudspeakers, then you may need the extra dynamic range that 2 subs could give you.
咁跟住我又問下佢，我就咁喺個喇叭度谷大個低音，或者 EQ 度加大個低音，同另外加一隻有源超低音，究竟個分別又會喺邊度呢？
The subwoofer, the new drive unit's been optimized for the lowest 3 octaves of the audio band. So for instance, if you're using SCM50s, this 9-inch bass driver here, that needs to have a good response up to, it's crossed over at 400 Hertz, but needs to have a good response up to a couple of octaves above that. The wider the band the drive unit needs to cover, the less flexibility you've got at optimizing it at having an outstanding response in the lowest 2 octaves. So with the subwoofer, because it only has to cover the lowest 3 octaves, we can make sure it can do the best possible job over that frequency band. So it's got a stronger response in those lower 3 octaves than a bass driver that you'd find in a 3-way loudspeaker. So this does extend lower than comparable 12-inch drive unit, for instance, that you find in the SCM100.
好啦，講完超低音啦，咁啊講講 ATC 啊 ，ATC 咧喺2024年就會踏入建廠50週年啦。50週年會唔會有啲咩慶祝活動，或者有啲咩新產品會推出市場呢？
I can't talk about any other forthcoming new product models, but yeah, it's an exciting time. 50 years to celebrate. We're going to have a party at the factory. Yeah, it'd be great to bring together family, friends, and customers next summer to celebrate 50 years of ATC.
新一代嘅有源 ATC 喇叭，無論係民用版定係專業版呢，喺個擴音機後面有兩個窿，呢兩個窿分別就可以調校輸入靈敏度1 volt 同埋2 volt。另外一個呢就係 Bass Boost， 可以加強低音度多6個 dB 嘅。呢兩個掣可唔可以校呢？如果要校嘅話，幾時可以校？應該點校呢？
Correct, yeah, it's continuously variable. It's not one or the other, but you can adjust the input sensitivity between 1 volts and 2 volts. Usually I say have it set to one or the other. The reason it's on a trimmer is for some professional installations might need to carefully level match between one speaker and another loudspeaker, but for most home users I would recommend they either set it to 1 volts, which is clockwise, or 2 volts, which is fully counterclockwise. The input sensitivity you choose really should be selected based on your combination of source and preamplifier. So some preamplifier, some sources have very high output level, in which case you might want to use a lower input sensitivity, i.e. less gain in the loudspeaker amplifier. If you had the highest gain in the amp pack and also a hot source and a preamp with a lot of gain, then it may be that you're operating the volume control right down near the bottom of its range. Stereo matching might not be as good. If it's a digital volume control, you're going to be compromising your signal to noise ratio. It actually depends on the preamplifier. The older SCA2 is more sensitive, so it's better on the 2 volt setting typically with an SCA2. Or if you're using, say, the CDA2, the newer preamplifier, that one's not quite as sensitive. So depending on the source you're using, it may be better with 1 volt. So it's not about one being better than the other. It's about matching to the partnering products and just choosing an input sensitivity that means you're using the volume control in its optimal range.
根據 Ben Lilly 所講咧 ，input sensitivity 呢個掣咧就係用嚟調校增益嘅夾配，而低音嘅多寡咧反而就係就翻大家嘅口味喎。
It's about taste, yeah. The speakers leave the factory with the flat setting. For whatever reason, maybe for your own personal taste or some issues within the room. If you need to lift the bass response slightly, there's that control there, and there's a shelving filter. It's a very simple first order shelf, and you can lift the bass up to 3 dB to give you a slightly warmer presentation.
最後一條問題，梗係要再問一次，喺今時今日2023年，坊間已經有好多好優秀、好先進、好好聲嘅 DSP 喇叭，作為其中一個非常之有代表性嘅錄音室監聽揚聲器嘅品牌。究竟 ATC 係咪而家仲係堅持一定唔做 DSP 嘅喇叭呢？
No, it's not something we're working on at the moment. And there's nothing wrong with using DSP in loudspeakers, but I mean there needs to be a compelling reason to do it. I mean we've always focused on drive unit development, first and foremost, making sure the drive units allow a simple system design. The reason we're so content with the analog filters that we're already implementing, that we're already using, is that the drive unit behavior is well controlled. We don't need complex processing to overcome any issues within the drive units. Because of that, that's one compelling reason to go DSP is ruled out. There could be some benefits in terms of what we could do in the time domain with digital processing, but it needs to be a compelling reason to do it, and it's not something we're thinking about at the moment. I'm not going to say never. Possibly in the future, maybe it's something that might be looked at, but it's definitely nothing that's on part of our plans at the moment. The feedback we get from customers, we're getting more customers, and they're happy with the approach we're taking because it's mature technology. They know that they're investing in something that's not going to change. I think people are a little more nervous about changes in digital technology. They see digital products changing more regularly, and by using mature analog technology, I think it gives them confidence that the product they're going to invest in isn't going to be suddenly out of date in 2 years later. Thanks, Ken.
ATC 嘅設計團隊咧，最近都新聘請咗工程師喎，咁今次咧亦都嚟到香港同大家見面嘅，咁我哋聽下佢介紹下自己啊。
Hi, I'm Cal Shackelford. I work at ATC now. I'm from the UK. I like the philosophy at ATC, which is striving for quality above all else. I'll be an acoustic and transducer engineer, I think, so I'll be working on driver design as well as system integration and general acoustics. It's always challenging. There's especially at ATC where the speakers are refined to such a level, finding more improvement beyond that, it gets increasingly difficult with each iteration. So it's always going to be challenging, and I find that very exciting. Thank you. It's good to meet you, Ken.
好啦，訪問就嚟到呢度啦。咁但係咧，呢一個 C4 Mark II 呢一隻超低音嘅實試咧，就暫時仲未做到，因為咧我做訪問嗰陣時咧，帶貨係未到嘅。咁希望遲啲有機會咧，可以實試一下啦。好啦，咁今日同大家講解英國 ATC 廠方嘅工程師 Ben Lilly 一個有關佢哋超低音 C4 Mark II 同埋玩 ATC 喇叭嘅一個廠方訪問咧，就嚟到呢度為止啦。咁中意我哋拍片嘅朋友俾個 like 我哋啦，未訂閱我哋 channel 嘅記得訂閱啦，訂閱咗之後記得撳住 channel 隔離嘅鐘仔，有新片出你第一時間收到通知啊。嗱，咁講開 2.1 或者 2.2 咧，唔知大家知唔知啊？咁其實小弟咧係有一個個人頻道嘅，叫做 FIFA 生國人啊。咁啊個頻道咧主要就係每一個月每2個禮拜做一次直播，咁啊內容咧就次次都唔同啊。啱啱對上嗰2個禮拜咧，我哋就做咗一個有關 2.1 定 2.2 嘅討論啊。咁啊入邊咧其實都有好多，除咗係我嘅睇法之外咧，亦都有好多觀眾發燒友佢哋嘅睇法有一個好好嘅互動嘅。咁所以咧，如果大家 唔知道有個咁樣嘅 channel， 但係我對呢一方面想多了解啲嘅朋友咧，就記得唔好錯過呢一個直播片噶啦。個 link 咧我就擺咗喺畫面啦，畫面出現噶啦應該啊。咁有興趣嘅朋友可以睇睇啦。如果你想聽一啲好純粹有關音響嘅討論啊、研究啊、吹水啊嗰啲 topic， 咁亦都可以考慮訂閱嗰個頻道嘅。好，咁啊，下次再同大家介紹下唔同類型嘅音響專訪，有養分嘅音響專訪片。下次再見，係咁，拜拜。